Well, it's been a while since I told you a story on video, about 2 years I think, but I think you're going to like this one. It's a bit long-winded, but I'm going to keep it to just the juicy bits. How can I describe this story? Well, it's a sordid, sweaty, dodgy tale about a guy called Chris, whose antics took him from London to Thailand. So this is the story of Chris, 28 years old, from London. He dodged arrest in the UK and disappeared off to Thailand, where he had quite a few exciting adventures, living life on the edge. Bit of background on Chris: he had a pretty rough upbringing, lived on a council estate, was a shy kid, bullied at school. In his early 20s he took up Muay Thai, which boosted his confidence and gave him an interest in Thailand. He was a regular at a Thai restaurant in Camden, North London. Working at this restaurant was a girl called Phon, who was from Bangkok. She was studying in London, worked at the restaurant part-time to meet a few other Thais and get a bit of free food. Chris would go there and try and make conversation with her, initiate a bit of eye contact, make her laugh, but he never took it any further. So one night in the restaurant when Chris was eating, there was a table nearby with 4 English guys laughing, joking and drinking quite loudly. Chris was familiar with these guys and went over to say hi. They'd just come back from 2 weeks in Pattaya and they told Chris all the gory details about what they'd got up to, which didn't leave a lot to the imagination. Anyway, this sparked an interest within Chris. He'd always wanted to take a trip to Thailand, and he thought to himself, well, Pattaya sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. Chris was working 5 days a week at a place called B&Q, a DIY store, as a manager. He was on pretty good money and it took him a few weeks to get the cash together. He went on a 10-day trip to Pattaya and did pretty much what those guys in the restaurant got up to, partying every night, getting drunk, hanging around with the girls in the bars. He stayed in a nice hotel and enjoyed the sun, the sand, the sea. The Pattaya vibe in the mid-1990s was a lot different to what it's like today. This was long before the internet put it out for the whole world to see and discover. It used to be like a hidden paradise thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, just for guys. So Chris gets back from his trip to Pattaya refreshed, de-stressed, and with a whole new insight into what he believes is typical Thai culture, learned in Pattaya of all places. He has picked up a bit of pidgin Thai from the girls he's been hanging around with. One thing he didn't learn was the Thai social class system. He goes to the restaurant, talks to Phon, makes a few jokes, and doesn't quite understand why she feels a bit embarrassed and then walks away from him. The 4 English guys come in and he goes straight over to their table to join them and tells them all about his trip to Pattaya and everything he'd got up to. The drinks start flowing. Anyway, Chris goes to the toilet and sees one of the guys coming out of the cubicle, and this guy offers him a line of Coke. Chris gladly accepts. He's never tried Coke before, and as soon as he puts the Coke up his nose, he gets this incredible boost of confidence. Anyway, more lines of Coke, more drinks later, and by this time Phon has refused to continue serving their table because Chris is making snide remarks and crude comments towards her. Anyway, he goes to the toilet again and he sees Phon cleaning up around the toilet. He makes an immediate beeline for her, grabs her by the waist and tries to pull her towards him, saying that he always thought that she liked him. She pushes him away, he gets angry and tries to grab her arms, and she screams. And Chris sort of comes to his senses and thinks, shit. So he turns around, goes back to the table, makes his excuses, and walks out the restaurant thinking, what the hell have I done here? But Chris's actions towards Phon that night would come back to haunt him years later. Do you know what? I know we're not that far into the story yet, but I've already taken a serious dislike to this Chris guy. Yeah, he's a bit of a twat, isn't he? Well, he goes to Thailand for 2 weeks, comes back, thinks he's Mr. Big Shot Casanova with all the Thai girls. Happens to a lot of guys. Yeah, well, he's an idiot. And I hope he gets his comeuppance in this story. So Chris's trip to Pattaya gave him a very distorted, perverted view on Thai women. He can never go back to the restaurant. But he did make friends with the 4 guys who were regulars there. One of them owns a nightclub in East London. One of them owns a pub in Hackney. Chris is interested in doing a bit of door work as a bouncer at this guy's nightclub in East London. With his ever-growing ego, thanks to his growing cocaine problem, this will be a job he would love to do. He could wield a bit of power. So he takes this job standing on the door of this nightclub in Ilford 3 nights a week. This is on top of his regular job. So he's getting, a bit of cash coming in. And in the back of his mind, he's got ambitions to move to Thailand permanently. Anyway, one night, there is a bit of an altercation with a guy who tried to sort of push his way past Chris on the door. Anyway, Chris punched the guy, and the guy smashed his head on the pavement when he fell down, brain damaged, in a coma. Chris done a runner from the scene, knowing that the police and the ambulance were on the way. He packed his bags, and in 3 days, he was on a plane heading for Bangkok. He's moving to Thailand. So he's on his way to Thailand, to Pattaya, and he's under the assumption that the police are indeed after him. What he doesn't actually know is that there is a warrant out for his arrest for GBH, but either way, he's running away from it all to the other sides of the world. He thinks that no one's ever going to find him. He's got the contact details of a couple of associates of the guys from the restaurant, and he's going to hit them up when he gets there and see if there's any opportunities to make a bit of money, maybe go into opening a bar or something like that. He's got about £10,000, which he thinks will sustain him for quite a while until he sort of gets on the ladder with a regular income coming in. Anyway, he parties for a couple of weeks, hangs out with the girls in the bars and has a great time. One day he gets a call from a Thai guy who's interested in investing with him in a bar. Now this Thai guy is pretty good friends with one of these associates, and he's asked to put up £7,000, which in those days was about 440,000 baht. And it's almost in the centre of Pattaya. The bar is actually down a soi off Second Road. He looks at the paperwork, signs all the contracts. He doesn't read it properly because there's loads of pages. And so this bar gets off the ground, it opens up, grand opening, lots of people come. Anyway, after a couple of weeks, the people stop coming, and he's in there every night, sitting at the bar, drinking beer after beer, going into the toilets for a line of Coke every 30 minutes. Anyway, one night, the Thai partner comes in, and they have a few drinks and get talking. And they get round to the issue of, is the bar doing well? Is it breaking even? Are they maybe even making a profit? The answer to that is obviously no, especially judging by the 1 or 2 customers that drift in and out every night. He gets round to asking about seeing the accounts, checking the books, and to his surprise, the bar is turning over a very generous profit. It doesn't take him long to suss out that this is a very serious money laundering operation. He's got dirty money coming through the bar, and he doesn't want any sort of attention from the authorities, of course. So he talks to the Thai partner about pulling out, getting his half of the investment back and going his own way. But of course, he's signed loads of contracts, didn't read the paperwork properly. They come to an agreement where he gets £2,000 back and he can turn his back on the business and possibly try something else. So he heads to Bangkok. He's going to become an English teacher, something that he never ever thought he would have to do. So he's gone from big time bar owner to big time English teacher. He is really living the dream, isn't he? Sorry, mate. he doesn't know anyone in the English teaching game in Bangkok. He's going in totally blind, but he likes to see himself as a bit of a problem solver, a ducker and diver. So he works out what he's got to do. He writes up a resume, which is mostly fiction apart from his name, prints it up, finds out where the English language schools are around Bangkok, and takes it to about 15 schools. Now in those days, it was pretty easy to find a teaching job. Most of the time you just needed to be good looking, have a white shirt, white skin and a pulse. It's probably still the same now. And a couple of weeks later he gets a call from one of the English language schools and is offered evening work, weekend work, 200 baht an hour, the other side of Bangkok. But he needs cash coming in. He's running low on money. He's got this girlfriend he met in Nana Plaza, where else? And he wants her to stop working at the bar, so that's another expense, plus his coke and booze habit. A couple of months go by, he's in this routine, doesn't have to get up in the morning. He makes friends with some of the other teachers, and he finds out about this full-time job going at a government school that includes a work permit. So he wants a bit of this, because up until now he's been doing visa runs. That's another expense and an absolute pain in the arse. But he needs a degree. So he talks to one of the other teachers and they tell him he can get something called a Khao San Road degree for 2,000 baht. So he gets one, goes to the job interview, passes, hands over his degree and passport. They tell him the work permit will take 2 weeks. He starts the job, he's teaching kids. It's on the other side of Bangkok. He's got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, take 2 buses to this school. A couple of months go by and he still hasn't got his work permit. So he goes to see the school principal and she tells him, don't worry, it's still in process, sorry about the wait, please be patient. Anyway, the worst happens a month later. The immigration turn up at the school. They're checking for teachers working illegally without work permits. So he tells the immigration police that his work permit is in process and the school are dragging their heels on this. The school principal hears about this and doesn't like the fact that he's told the cops that they are dragging their heels. This is one of those silly cases of losing face. So the school principal says to the police, okay, check his degree out, I think it's fake. They call him in and they ask him simple questions about his degree. Where did you graduate? What topic? And the thing is, he can't remember what he put on the degree, what university, what topic. So he's got himself into a bit of a mess. So he makes a phone call from the police station to one of the associates that he met in Pattaya. They tell him they know a lawyer that could come down and help him. He gives them all the details. Anyway, a few hours later, this lawyer appears at the police station and says, look, I can get you off this, 100,000 baht, plus I'll get you a 1-year visa, multiple entry, no worries. Chris, in the desperate state that he is, snaps it up like a shot. He says, okay, 100,000 baht, I've got 40, can I owe you 60 in monthly instalments? The lawyer says, okay. So he's a free man pretty much, and he's got this 1-year visa that he doesn't know is dodgy. He's now got this problem of owing the lawyer money, not having a job, too scared to apply for another teaching job. So his money's running low. What's he going to do? One day when he misses a monthly instalment to the lawyer, he calls him up and says, look, I won't be able to pay you back like we agreed. Do you know anywhere where I can get some work to earn money? I will do anything. A couple of days later, he gets a call from a Thai woman who says, oh, you need work. I can give you something that's well paid, but it's pretty dangerous. Drug smuggling. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this one. She tells him he takes cocaine to Hong Kong, drops it off, comes back, 12-hour round trip, $5,000. He says to her, well, what am I going to do? Put them in my suitcase or stick them to my body? How am I going to carry these? In your stomach, she says. He's having second thoughts, but he can really do with the money. Anyway, one night, a package gets dropped off at his place. 20 little condoms filled with cocaine, not very big. Takes him about 6 hours to swallow them with the help of a bottle of cooking oil to help them go down. Goes to the airport. He's a bit nervous, but he gets on the plane, gets to Hong Kong, craps them into a bucket, hands them over, back to Thailand, job done. He's $5,000 richer. So he says to the woman, well, I'll happily do that again, but I want more money. $7,000. Hong Kong again, dropping him off at a different place. So he does that job, gets through, no worries. Another job comes up, $10,000, 30 little packages to Tokyo. Does that job, gets away with it. Now he thinks, well, this is not as difficult as I thought it would be. But surely this can't go on forever. At some point, this is all going to come crashing down. By this stage, Chris is getting really bad stomach problems from carrying all these drugs. So he thinks, I've got to get out of this. I'll do one last job and that's it. So he calls up the woman and says, look, I need to get out of this game altogether. I'm having serious health issues. She's naturally not happy about this because Chris is her cash cow, but she agrees to give him one last job, $20,000, 50 packages to Hong Kong, 24-hour round trip. So he's going to the airport, he's got 50 packages in his stomach, he's in absolute agony, he can hardly walk. He's sweaty, he's nervous. This inevitably gets the attention of the police at the airport. So he gets pulled up, taken into a room, interrogated. It doesn't take them long to realise that he is carrying drugs internally. So he gets taken to one of these special toilets and it takes him a couple of hours to shit out 50 packages. They cut open one of these packages, test the powder, and it's not cocaine, it's glucose. It doesn't take him long to realise that this woman has set him up. So had Chris got to Hong Kong and dropped off the drugs, there could have been two scenarios playing out here. The first one, Chris goes to drop the drugs off, gets whacked by a hitman, hired by the Thai lady. Then again, she probably could have got him whacked cheaper in Bangkok. Second scenario, he goes to drop off the drugs. The people who are expecting cocaine obviously realise it's glucose, kill Chris, or they realise that the Thai lady has indeed ripped them off. Either way, Chris is probably going to get killed anyway. But what actually happened to Chris throughout all this was something a lot simpler. The story Chris told the police was something truly bizarre. He knew he couldn't get done for carrying drugs because all he had was packages of glucose. He told the police he had swallowed those packages to scare his friend in Hong Kong. And of course he didn't mention anything about the Thai lady because he didn't want to get whacked. And one thing Chris is not is a grass. So he calls up the lawyer who manages to negotiate his freedom for 200,000 baht. Chris is now a free man, but there's one more twist to this story still to come. This story is getting really dodgy now. What's that, the one you're reading? No. Putting glucose in your stomach to scare your friend in Hong Kong. Money talks, doesn't it? And how come the Thai police didn't realise he had an arrest warrant out in the UK? Maybe the British cops didn't know he'd gone to Thailand. So let's go back to the beginning of this story, and Chris is a regular at the Thai restaurant in Camden where he first set eyes on Fon. He met and made friends with those 4 English guys who were also regulars there. After Chris tried it on with Fon, failed and then disappeared, those 4 English guys continued to be regulars. In fact, one of them got engaged to Fon's friend. The guy who Chris punched outside the nightclub spent 5 months in a coma before he was declared brain dead and his life support switched off. This was in the news. Anyway, gossip travels fast. A slip of the tongue after a few drinks, and Fon soon found out it was Chris and that he'd disappeared to Thailand. But Fon didn't go to the British cops. She told her dad in Thailand. He was a senior officer in the Royal Thai Police. 1 month after Chris had paid his way out of the airport fiasco, he was arrested. So Chris was deported back to the UK and given a jail sentence of 13 years for manslaughter, and it goes to show you can never run from the law one way or another. However long it takes, it will always catch up with you. Well, he definitely got his comeuppance in the end, didn't he? Yep, he certainly did, didn't he? Did you enjoy the story? Yeah, it was pretty good. Nice twist at the end, but I still prefer reading Christopher G. Moore's books. So there we are, a classic story of what goes around comes around. I didn't know Chris myself, thank God, but I'd heard this story about 15 years ago, and I thought one day I'm going to tell this story. I used to fancy myself as a bit of an aspiring writer, but little did I know I'd be telling you lot on YouTube years later. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this story. Please do subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via the Buy Me a Coffee link on the screen, or you can join the channel and become a member. That just leaves me to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.